Hi, Mark. So I want to ask you this question in large part because this is one of the funny things about you. A lot of people, when they talk about resource guarding, they really talk about it as something that can only be managed or something that really just will never get fixed. But you love resource guarding cases. Every time one comes up, you're like, woo, it's another resource guarding case.
That's true.
So tell me why you feel that way and what you think about resource guarding.
Sure. Well, the first thing is, I think why I think I have kind of a playful feeling about it. That's how I feel about it in any case. Because I don't really feel the dogs are broken, and I don't really feel that. I think a lot of people think like this is sort of the height of nastiness in a dog, that it would do this with an owner, within its own house and all that. And I think in part this is where it's really important to understand that the dog just views the world as a dog, And, if you think about puppies, when they're little and they're all eating out of the one tray and everything, I mean, that's really the beginning of resource guarding right there. They're trying to push through each other and all. And they don't generally fight because, there's enough food, But you put down half as much food and, in 6 or 8 week old puppies, you'll have a brawl. And sometimes you have it anyway. But in any case, I think of it as, first of all, really normal, natural behavior in dogs. I mean, if you're living out in the world and there's only so much food, politeness doesn't really play into things that much, And so I think it's really normal. And I think it's fundamentally a misunderstanding. Because, our dogs basically live in a world of plenty. And they're often resource guarding things that, it doesn't matter if they have it or they don't have it, a lot of the time. The other thing, I guess, that I find very interesting about it is that people don't realize how much they resource guard from the dog or towards the dog. And especially, if you look at any old school training, that's all you're doing is resource guarding. Like, if you tell the dog you can't get on the couch, you're just behaving towards the dog the same way a resource guarding dog would. And this is part of the reason why a lot of times you see a dog that, will maybe resource guard the couch from mom or the kids, but not from dad. Dad's just a bigger resource guarder, I mean, he just wins the fight. But anyway, so I think of it as a misunderstanding. I think of it as, based in really natural behavior. And frankly, most of the time we fix it really quickly, some of the cases where it's, really touchy or where it involves babies and stuff like that. But even there, I think that's a really good example of why you have to actually be solving it, not managing it. If you manage a resource guarding dog around a baby, there's really good chances sooner or later the baby's going to get bitten. But you really can change the way dogs think about this, and you can often do it really quickly, and especially for dogs, 5 months of age or less. And we do, if the dogs are under 5 months of age, a lot of times we do it with no punishment at all, just purely through name and explain, intermediate and terminal bridging, punishment by reward. The video we have out on that's a really classic case where I use punishment by reward. And in those cases, the behavior just goes away really, really quickly. Particularly in older dogs, especially if they've actually bitten, I do like to use some punishment because I think it's really important for the dogs to understand it's wrong, to be trying to bite people or whatever. But in those cases, probably 95% of the cure is not punishment oriented, and there's just enough to say, and by the way, no matter how you feel, don't do that. But this big challenge in changing resource guarding is to not outguard the dog. How do you just change them so they don't do it? So we're not going to tell you how you do that today, because I couldn't tell you in 5 minutes, and guess what? That's what I do for a living. I get paid for this stuff. But I think when you have the right attitude towards it, first of all, I think it's really important to understand that you can fundamentally change it. And it's really important that it changes fundamentally, not just that it changes towards one person. If it only changes towards one person, that person just out-resource guarded the dog. And you have to think about how would this behavior hold up, let's say with a baby or a 5 or 6 year old kid. What if something falls on the ground that the dog has historically resource guarded, and a kid goes for it? they're not going to know to use some obedience command. They will not have a training history with the dog or whatever. So the dog has to just not do that. But if you just get rid of the idea in the dog where he's not hung up about it, then it doesn't matter. The kid can do it. You could be on the other side of the room and tell the dog he's the greatest dog ever for what he just did. And really at that point he'll wonder, why is he a great dog? Well, nothing was going on. But anyway, but it's fun because you can usually fix it quite quickly. You can fix it quite thoroughly. And I think to me it's fun because it's an area where people usually get really offended by the behavior, really upset about it. There tends to be a lot of family stress about it. And to be able to come in and just like really quickly sort of go poof and it goes away. And when I say quickly, it could be one session, could be a couple of weeks, depending on what's going on. Some dogs are complex and you need to deal with it in a lot of different situations. But it's really cool when it's gone, and it's really cool when people are like, oh, so my dog's not a jerk and he does like me. So I like it.
Thank you.